That's what works for me. And intimacy takes courage. Yeah, I love it.
that was you that I saw by the palm tree out in the middle of nowhere.
See, you knew that.
That's right.
I have the white gloves on with the big sleeves. Oh, yeah, I've got it down.
I saw you there. That's right.
Go ahead, River.
I think, did you have a follow-up?
Yeah, I just want to talk about intimacy and trust.
Yeah.
We've shared this before on Second Sight. I don't know if we shared it on this show. But I had a relationship that was life-changing. And very briefly, without going into a lot of detail, when my first marriage had ended, I was teaching meditation and healing, energy healing. And at a meditation group on a Friday night, one of my friends came over and said, I know this woman. She has breast cancer. She wants to learn about your healing techniques and about meditation, guided visualization meditation, and so on and so forth, holistic healing. Would you be willing to meet with her? And I did, and made an appointment to see her. And I knocked on her door, and she opened the door, and we looked at each other and literally said, it's you. And we began a 3-year journey together that was life-affirming, life-changing, opened my heart fully to myself, and brought her the lesson that she needed to learn was that she was loved, that she was loved and worthy of that love. And intimacy is being with someone and loving that person and being able to be with them through some of the most torturous treatments, through some of the most painful experiences, through not knowing whether you'd be alive the next day over a period of 2 years. That's intimacy. That's intimacy.
Very nice. Very nice. All right, River.
Too much for me.
I'm sorry, River. I'm sorry.
It is every time. Like I shouldn't say every time. I've only heard you speak of her in maybe three times now, but each time, like the first time, I will never forget. I tuned into her, and when I did that, there was all this. It was almost uncontrollable laughter. There was so much joy in the telling of the story. I will never forget. I think I guessed it on your Second Sight show. Mm-hmm. Chris had asked me, hey, River, are you busy? Will you come on Second Sight? And I was there, and you began telling, and I absorbed her. And in that moment, there was this laughter, and it was uncontrollable. And you said out loud, I was loud. It physically came out of me. And you said, who's laughing? And I was like, oh, God, it was me. And I said, I'm sorry, because I couldn't describe her emotion to you in that moment. I couldn't convey it, but that's always been me. I take it on, and it's there, and before I know it. So I knew it was a very fun, happy.
We had so much joy and did so many wonderful things. We did more together in 3 years than most couples do in a lifetime.
Yeah, I know. It's so sweet. So sweet.
That is sweet.
Love you, Nick.
Love you too, sweetie.
Okay.
Kimberly,
okay. Kimberly, in your book, you refer to vulnerability a lot. Just what exactly do you mean by that?
I mean, dropping your mask, dropping your package, and your package is how you do your hair, what kind of clothes you wear, do you look right for the person, or how you think they want you to look. Stop packaging ourselves. You know, have the type of body you want, but have it for you. So the bottom line is, it means, will you drop your shields, your pretensions, your reasons why not? Will you begin your conversations from the truth? In the first 2 love letters that you read in the book, you see that Adam opened the doorway to that level of vulnerability by writing his first letter to me. Was like, oh my God, I can't believe a guy really is this open. And so I matched that. And the level of vulnerability, meaning exposure, meaning this is who I really am, this is how I feel. You might not like this, but this is who I am. I hope you do, because we are wired with such a lack of self-love and such a lack of self-respect and self-worth. We go, I hope you love me anyway. So how about I hope you love me because of my vulnerability? And you remember the movie Hitch, where this guy was hired by men who were less than stellar to fall in love with women who were stellar. And the whole deal was that he was going to teach them how to be just really together and very with it. And what the women fell in love with was the men's pickadoos and vulnerabilities, and that's what we love in each other. We don't love how much money we make. We might respect that. We don't love diplomas on the walls. We might admire that. But what do we love? We love the person in the inside, the one that falls laughing on the floor and snorts when they laugh and says ridiculous things, and that's what we love. And that's what vulnerability is.
Yeah.
I love that. I just got to say, you know what? This is where we're at. Now we're getting to the goods. This is the goods here. This is the part of love that doesn't change, that doesn't waver, that doesn't shake you. It is what it is. It's primal. It's raw. And that is attractive. If that's vulnerability, then I'm good with that. I'm okay with that. Yeah, that's not weak. That's not something changeable. To me, that's good stuff right there. I like that a little bit.
You know, I just want to say that Chris and I are not afraid to show our vulnerability because we both cry. We all cry when something touches us. And I've gone to movies that I start crying. I'll never forget the first time I saw City of Angels.
I know.
That was a good movie.
My heart was so open at that point, and the tears just flowed for minutes and minutes and minutes after that movie ended.
But I have to follow that up, Victor. If I am watching a movie and there are people around and it is a sad moment, I will get up and go to the bathroom because I don't want anyone.
Come on, Chris.
It depends on the situation. I mean, if I'm with a girl and we're having this, that's one thing. But if I'm in a room full of guys, you know, I'm not going to let them.
You don't have to. No. Real men cry, Chris. Come on.
I cry.
Kimberly, don't real men cry?
Yeah, of course they do. And if they're lucky, they'll have a woman hold them while they do.
Wow.
I agree with that. I agree with that.
You know what, Kimberly? I really like you.
Oh, thanks.
Go ahead,
Vicki. I got a thought about vulnerability. You know, we often think that vulnerability is about exposing the parts of us that here's the real risk of vulnerability and why I spent so long trying to learn it. What if what we really fear is that we are so bright and so shiny and so filled with love that just by being in our presence, people will be healed, people will feel better about themselves? What if that's what we're afraid of? What if we're afraid that that's what will separate us? Because too many people don't reach for that level of vulnerability.
Okay, that's freaking me out right now because somebody asked me that not too long ago. That's a little. Now we're getting into the why is Kimberly on the Paranormal Lounge? So River could hear that message loud and clear. That's why.
Absolutely.
That was so direct. It wasn't even funny.
I'm going to tell you what, River. I'm going to tell you why she's on the Paranormal Lounge. Because I booked her. Anyway.
No, I want to follow up on that.
Yes.
Our guest on Second Sight last night was Jaya Jayamara. And she is someone who heals through what's known as Shaktiput. And Shaktiput is the feminine energy, the goddess energy, which is bestowed upon those who are in her presence. And any of the great the gurus that you meet do the same thing. So that's what we're talking about. We're talking about a love that's so profound that those in your presence actually are healed by it. And that to me is the highest aspiration.
Yes, and in essence, it's not necessary. It can be, but it's not necessary for one person. It's just this thing called love.
Yeah,
and that changes everything. It changes everything.
It does change everything.
Absolutely. Good, River.
Kimberly, why does fear dominate the dynamics of a relationship?
I'm sorry, River. What dominates? I didn't hear it all.
Fear. Why does fear dominate relationships?
Because we have been raised in a Christian Judeo society that teaches our children with fear, that teaches our children with shame, that teaches our children with guilt. And so those were our gods when we were children. Parents are gods because they're the ones who have life or death over us. And because they lack skills and sometimes because they didn't want to learn those skills, and sometimes they didn't have access to them. And so they tried to keep us in line with fear to protect us, because the world is such an awful place, because you have to really never show someone who you really are. It's a dangerous person out there. There was a book someone wrote once about, for $1, he bet his friends, could he get across the nation on $1? He wrote a book about it. Not only could he get across the nation on $1, he met good people, town after town, but every town said the same thing. Listen, we're the good people, but in the next town, they're going to be awful, so be careful, take care of yourself. And that's what we teach people. And so when it finally gets down to we get to choose someone that we want to love, we get to put out the resonance of who we want to attract. And what do we put out? Fear, shame, guilt. So when we get someone who gives that back to us, we go, hell. First we say to ourselves, what's wrong with me? And then we say, what's wrong with them? We have to clear those things in ourselves. That's what being self-loving is about. And life was never meant to be this painful. Life was supposed to be propelled with the engine of love, with two little missiles of fear on the side. So if you get too close to the edge of the cliff, your knees start shaking and you get back on your soul's path. And that's what it was supposed to be. But we, in our wisdom, flipped it. So now we allow fear to run us, and love every once in a while, if we're graced by it, tries to move us back onto our path. The universe helps love. And anyone who exudes it, who reaches for it, if we will just be willing, it will come to us. But we're not willing. And the only person who could stop love in our lives is us.
That's it. The whole concept of fear in relationships is like fear in anything, in every activity, in everything we do in life. And the fear that sometimes is programmed into us as children, and that's the fear of loss. If I open myself up to this possibility, what happens if I lose it? And that's the basis. And when you love yourself first, you come to the understanding that you are complete and perfect just as you are, and that finding someone outside of yourself with love is just an adjunct, and it's not a sense of loss. If that person goes on, that they go on. You still have the fundamental love within yourself.
That's exactly right. That's the words of wisdom. That's exactly how it works.
Well said. Well, they say opposites attract, and that we fill each other's needs. Why is that not healthy in a relationship?
I don't think it's not healthy. I think that what we need to choose is how we feel when we're with the person. You see that. You see this stunning woman walking down the street, and then she's with a guy that's not so good looking. And the first judgment everyone has, oh, he must have money. Or you see this really great guy, and you'll see he's with a woman that might not be attractive by our standards today. And you wonder, what the hell is that about? Well, people, maybe what it's about is that how they feel when they're in that person's presence means love to them. And so whether it's opposites attract, you're on the different sides of the aisle, in your politics, in your earning ability, in your families, in your religion, but when you get together, you make each other feel so wonderful. That's the function I was talking about earlier. In my relationship, you bet I want fun and adventure, and I want to matter, and I want to be able to love flat out, and I want them to love me flat out, and I want to be able to speak the truth, and I want communication. That's how I want to feel when I'm with someone. I'm no longer 20 years old, and I'm not going to list how tall I want him to be and how much money I want him to make. Those days are useless. And that's why it's so important that we really pay attention to how we feel in being in love with ourselves. And then what is your list going to look like? Because get this, if we're happy almost every day of our life, not every day, but almost every day because we all fall on our faces, then where could you propel yourself from there? Who could you be? What could you achieve? How much love could you receive and give the world? That's what we want.
Absolutely.
I agree completely. I'll tell you, I love your passion. Guys, how often do we get a guest that's so passionate about what they're talking about? I mean, we get guests that are passionate, obviously, and they know their subject inside and out. But this woman, you can tell she's feeling it when she's saying it.
Absolutely. And you know what that comes from? That comes from that inner loving knowledge of self. That's where it